Hey everyone, this is Mrs. Mysterious coming at you with another case. I know I haven't made another video in a few months, but I've recently been really busy, and we also got a 7-month-old puppy, and he's been keeping us pretty busy, in a good way. Anyway, I wanted to cover a case that has many conspiracies. I find conspiracies to be really interesting because of their origin. Oftentimes it's armchair sleuths or armchair detectives that come up with these crazy ideas of what actually occurred. Sometimes these theories make a lot of sense, other times there isn't any evidence to suggest that a theory holds any kind of truth. And this is one of the reasons why I love documentaries. You get to see both sides of a story, and you get to make your own decision on the truth. But we have to be careful and subjective when we do this, because it can be detrimental. Sure, armchair detectives want to help solve mysterious cases, but sometimes their research leads the wrong way and causes more problems than good. A good example of this is the Elisa Lam documentary on Netflix, which explores the unexplained death of Elisa Lam at the Hotel Cecil in Los Angeles, California. I won't get into all the details, but there's a part of the documentary where there's a guy who's thought to be a suspect in the case because some armchair detectives thought his behavior was strange. Essentially, he had nothing to do with the case, but because he was targeted by people online, it ruined his career. I will also note that he was very strange. He was definitely a strange dude. And if he didn't want that kind of negative attention, he probably should have logged off the internet, but that's just my 2 cents. Armchair detectives aren't always wrong, and they can be very helpful when done correctly. Another documentary is Don't F with Cats on Netflix, which is a good example of how armchair sleuths can be beneficial to cases. Again, we just need to be careful. That all being said, I will be discussing conspiracy theories in this video and what my opinion is on these, but I'm not claiming to know the truth. I just have some questions and some concerns. So today we're talking about the sudden death of actress Brittany Murphy. Brittany was born on November 10th, 1977 in Atlanta, Georgia. She moved to New Jersey after her parents divorced when she was about 2 years old, and she moved with her mother, Sharon. In school, Brittany was really involved in plays, and she liked to sing and dance. So when she turned 13, she moved to Hollywood with Sharon to pursue an acting career. She initially played supporting roles on TV and in movies, but landed her first major role in 1995 in Clueless, which put her on the map as a successful actress. From there, she starred in Little Black Book, 8 Mile, and Riding in Cars with Boys. Other actors that she knew said she was able to play any role and was able to adapt to anything that was thrown at her. In 2006, Brittany met screenwriter-director Simon Monjack, and the pair got married in April of 2007. But by 2009, Brittany's career was starting to decline. She was dropped by numerous feature films and shows, and there was a rumor going around at the time that Brittany had a severe drug problem and that she couldn't remember lines, she would be late to set, and she was unfocused. So no studio really wanted to work with her. Her husband, Simon, however, said that these rumors were lies and that her former managers, they wanted to sabotage her career. My question is, why would her managers want to sabotage her career? What would be the benefit of doing that? So since Brittany's career wasn't doing too hot, the couple decided that they wanted a new fresh start, and they wanted to move to New York City to start a family. Unfortunately, there were some obstacles that prevented this from happening. First, Brittany was the provider and caregiver to her mother, Sharon, who had breast cancer, kind of over and over again. It was kind of constant. And Simon also had health issues, specifically with his heart. So instead of moving, they stayed in LA, and Brittany played in some low-budget films just to make a paycheck. In November 2009, Brittany, Simon, and Sharon flew to Puerto Rico because the filming of a low-budget horror film that's called Caller was going to start production. But problems already started when they got to the shoot, like Simon showing up drunk and causing a scene. Why was he even on set to begin with? After that incident, Brittany decided to quit, maybe due to embarrassment. But that's not what Simon claimed when he spoke to the media. He claimed that Brittany quit the job because she didn't realize that the movie was a horror movie. She thought it was a thriller and didn't want to be involved in a horror flick. Okay, wait. If this is true, which who knows, Did she not read the script before taking the job? Did she not know the premise of the movie before agreeing to be in it? That's a little strange to me. Personally, I think it's more plausible that her husband embarrassed her in front of other actors and the director of the film, and she didn't want to be involved anymore and have even more scrutiny from the film industry. But anyway, moving on. The family decided that since they were already in Puerto Rico, that they would turn this trip into an 8-day vacation. On the way back home, though, Simon and Sharon both got sick from a staph infection. Simon apparently was so sick that the flight had to make an emergency landing so he could be taken to the hospital. Side note, I don't know if you've ever had a family member get sick on an airplane and then almost have to make an emergency landing while most of the people on the flight are on their way to Disney, but the fear is real. Luckily, we didn't have to make an emergency landing, but we were getting dirty looks from all the other passengers for sure. But anyway, eventually the trio made it home, but Brittany and Simon were sick with pneumonia. I'm not sure how Sharon didn't also have pneumonia. If she was a cancer patient, you would assume that she was immunocompromised, but I couldn't find any additional information on that. So on December 20th, 2009, Brittany was out on her balcony and she collapsed. Sharon claims she said, "Mommy, I can't catch my breath. Help me, help me." Her mother thought she was being dramatic. At this point, she had been sick for about 6 weeks, and Brittany had a tendency to be dramatic. But later that day, she collapsed again, this time in the bathroom. She was rushed to the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where she died. She was only 32. This is where the conspiracy theories begin. The LA County Coroner's Office believed Brittany's death to be accidental. They believe she died from a combination of pneumonia, anemia, meaning a low iron deficiency, and multiple drug intoxication. Simon, on the other hand, claimed she died from heartbreak due to her mistreatment in the film industry. But something even stranger happened. 5 months after her death, Simon also died of pneumonia and anemia. No mention of drugs, though. Some speculate that there may have been some kind of toxic mold growing in the house that caused their deaths. However, Brittany's mother, who was also living in the house, did not die. Others suspect foul play. In November 2013, Angelo Bertolotti, Brittany's father, launched a secondary investigation into her death. During the second toxicology, pathologists found traces of various heavy metals in Brittany's blood, which convinced Brittany's father that she was poisoned. He initially believed that Simon was poisoning her and trying to destroy her career. Honestly, when I first read about this case, I was very skeptical about Simon's claims and behaviors. To me, it felt like he always had some kind of excuse to explain what was going on, and it just seemed fishy to me. But the metals found in Brittany's blood were antimony and barium, common metals used in hair dyes, and Brittany did in fact use hair dye on the regular. A really strange conspiracy theory came out that Brittany was targeted by the government. Yeah, this one's kind of weird. Brittany's friend wrote a book claiming that Simon was super paranoid that they were being watched at the house, and she claimed that Simon had installed 56 cameras in the house and around the property, and that he even had a scrambling device to prevent their phone conversations from being wiretapped. Said friend sent a letter to Brittany's publicist to gain public support for the case, but the publicist declined. Not enough evidence. But let's go back to the toxic mold theory. Many believe there was toxic mold growing in the house that was covered up due to a non-disclosure agreement between the property developers. Sharon did not believe this when she first heard it, but eventually she went on to change her opinion and said that it was in fact what led to the deaths. Again, I want to point out that Sharon was also living in the same house, and if this toxic mold was present, she was unaffected by it despite having a weakened immune system. Also, why did she change her opinion? Sharon was also thought to be involved in the death of her daughter and son-in-law. There was a rumor that after Brittany died, Sharon started sleeping with Simon, considering he was found in the bed that they allegedly shared when he died. But friends and family said that Brittany and Sharon were extremely close. I don't think she had a motive to commit murder because Brittany was not only her caregiver but also supported her financially. Unless Brittany and Simon had a lot of money saved and Sharon was entitled to it in the event that they both died, I feel this is a weak theory. From what I've researched, I don't think Brittany and Simon had a ton of money because they relied on Brittany for money, but she was only starring in low-budget films, so she probably didn't have a ton of money, but I could be totally wrong. Sharon and Simon said after Brittany died that Brittany relied on prescription drugs to cope with life and deal with chronic pain after being in a car accident, but she wasn't a drug addict. This statement is odd. Why did they have to point this out? Sharon also said Brittany had a heart murmur and that taking illegal substances would harm her and she wouldn't do that. Again, an odd statement because the prescription drugs she was most likely taking were probably opioids. Currently, we have an opioid addiction crisis causing doctors not to overprescribe opioid medications to patients, but when Brittany died, this was not the case. So the drugs they did find in her system were an antibiotic, migraine pills, cough medicine, Prozac, Simon's beta blockers, which help reduce blood pressure, and a couple of different over-the-counter medications for period cramps and nasal congestion. All of these drugs are legal, but in conjunction with possible opioid addiction and a frail mental state, it could definitely be deadly. As it stands, Brittany Murphy's death is still classified as an accidental death, but there's still a lot of mystery surrounding it. Did she actually have a drug problem? Did Simon do something to her and then to himself? Was there toxic mold in the house? Did Sharon have something to do with it? Was the government somehow involved? Personally, I think Brittany started to go downhill after she got together with Simon. Based on what I've read, it appears that Simon was very manipulative and controlling of Brittany. I think he had a negative impact on her. It's very possible that Brittany did have a drug problem and Simon also had a drug problem. This would make the rumor in the film industry and the fact that she wasn't getting any jobs more plausible. Maybe Brittany and Simon were using the same types of drugs, which is why their deaths were almost identical. And I also think Sharon is using the toxic mold theory as a cover-up, to cover up the fact that Brittany had a drug problem. If there was mold in the house, then why didn't Sharon get sick too? Also, the house was never tested to see if there was any toxic mold growing in the house to either prove or disprove that theory. There are too many unanswered questions that probably will never be answered. So what do you think happened? What are your theories? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoy this kind of content, please consider subscribing. If you have any suggestions, cases, or stories you would like me to cover, please feel free to leave a comment down below. And as always, stay safe.